I think doing self-drive safari is the best way to experience Africa.
And it's not as hard as you might think.
I've been traveling to Africa every year for 10 years now, and in this video I'll share some ideas of how you can get the most of your self-drive safari and why you should do it.
There are pros and cons for both guided safari and a self-drive experience. I've only ever done one multiple-day guided safari back in 2017 when some friends of mine visited. It was a great experience. We had our own chef and a very skilled guide, and this was mainly in Moremi and the Okavango Delta of Botswana.
You get everything served and you don't have to think about anything, and it's very comfortable.
But if you would like a more adventurous experience, I'd recommend to make your own safari by renting a car and do everything yourself, self-driving. Especially if you're a photographer. The great thing about this is you do everything on your own terms, and if you have a great sighting, you decide how long you want to stick around for to get the shots you want. To me, this is the best way to experience and discover Africa, on your own terms.
Especially if you want to visit reserves like the Central Kalahari or the Kalahari Transfrontier Park, which is quite remote. And that's something I really recommend as it is less crowded and much more wild.
Some of my best sightings are from those areas.
But you might think that this is way outside your comfort zone, driving around in Africa and even on the left-hand side of the road. But you'll get used to that.
Believe me, it's not difficult at all, and with the apps such as Maps.me you can't really get lost. There aren't that many main roads to choose from, and when you go into the parks and drive in the bush, Maps.me has you covered.
Or you can buy maps at the entrance gate. They are quite nice and have cool illustrations. I think they also have this tick box at the end of them, so you can tick off what you have spotted.
I think self-driving gives it all more of an adventure feeling. You cook for yourself, set up camp yourself and explore by yourself, as opposed to having a guide showing you all the best places, which is nice of course. But self-driving adds that extra excitement to it. This is something different. It feels more exciting, even if you didn't see anything that morning or afternoon, because you're driving yourself, adding an extra layer of adventure to it. Feeling a bit like Indiana Jones.
Did that make sense?
Just don't self-drive in a second-hand car imported from Japan like I did in 2019.
And the car would start.
They do have a tendency to break down, at least mine did, on numerous occasions.
Talking about adventure, get a rental instead. And thank me later.
They have a lot of good options, and if you're traveling together, it gets cheaper as well, depending on the season. If you use a serious company like Bushtrackers or Bushlore, you'll get a fairly new, well-maintained 4x4 as well. They have fully equipped options with tents and everything you need in the bush to cook, be comfortable and have cold drinks.
I do recommend rooftop tents. There is something magical about having lions outside your tent in the middle of the night.
Happy memories from my secret spot right there.
Yeah, that can happen. So let's talk practical if you decide to go for it. First off, rent a car at a serious car company like Bushlore or Bushtrackers. Get a quota and they'll send you some options according to your needs, and I think they also might be able to help you book campsites in advance. At least Bushlore does that. I'm not sure about Bushtrackers, but they might be able to help you and bake everything into the total price. Secondly is to book well in advance, especially if you plan to go in the high season. There aren't that many camps, which is a good thing, meaning less people. A year is good, you should be able to get what you want. If you plan to book 2 months before you are leaving, you might end up getting nothing. But self-driving also gives you a lot of flexibility to go wherever you want, like Namibia. Me and my girlfriend went there, which was fantastic. It was really nice to see this vastly different landscape than the lush green of the Botswana rainy season. So that's another huge benefit of self-driving. Also remember again, it's not difficult at all to drive around in Botswana or Namibia, and it's very, very safe.
Get the app called Maps.me and download maps for the areas you plan to visit. There you'll find almost all the tracks and trails, even in the most remote places.
It's a great app and I use it all the time when I'm in the bush.
As for best times to visit, I'd say January until March when it's the rainy season. It's usually lush and green then, and less people as it is the low season. There are also less animals to be seen as they are scattered around in the bush since there is water everywhere.
But for photographers, you have much better conditions during the day. If you find something interesting and it's overcast, that gives you a better light.
June through August is the high season and animals will flock to the remaining waterholes, so you'll have a higher concentrations of animals and see more of them. It's also more crowded in the parks and more expensive to rent cars.
Great places to visit for self-drivers are the Central Kalahari Game Reserve.
I love it there because it's so remote. It can be flooded in the rainy season, but it is an experience of a lifetime. Naipan National Park. Very easy to drive around and have excellent campsites with ablution blocks that has showers and toilets. I'd go there in the dry season and wouldn't gamble on booking anything there in the rainy season as it can be inaccessible. The campsites can also be completely flooded.
Kalahari Transfrontier Park is also fantastic in the rainy season.
It's very easy to drive there and I've had my best lion encounters there. Especially on the Botswana side of the park, where it is and feels more wild.
Personally, I'd avoid Moremi Game Reserve, but if you really want to go, I recommend going to the Kwai community side of the reserve. It's not actually inside the reserve, but there, try and get camps at a place called Mahoto. That's the best. It's by the river and it's absolutely beautiful.
Inside Moremi, it can be tricky to drive in the rainy season, as you can easily get stuck. And that's no fun, trust me.
I won't go into the nitty-gritty here. If you want to do a self-drive safari, I say go for it. It just might be the best African experience you've ever had. Instead, ask me anything in the comments. That's much better than going into the boring details in this video. Also, please subscribe to my channel. That would be awesome. Thank you.
With that, I hope this pushed you in the right direction of making the most of your future African adventure.
The point is, it is fun to do a self-drive safari. If you decide to go to either Botswana or Namibia, or both, it's so easy. It's also very, very safe. That's probably the most frequent question I get. People asking me, is it safe in Africa? Is it safe down there? Remember, Africa is a huge continent, and in the southern part, it's generally safe. I've never had anything happen to me or any situation that I thought, okay, this is a bit dodgy. Never.
No wonder I keep coming back year after year. If you haven't checked out my vlog series from when I spent 6 months photographing lions back in 2019, I recommend this video series to see how it all went down.
And again, subscribe to this channel if you thought this was helpful and like this video. That would be fantastic. It supports what I do, travel, adventure, photography, all that good stuff. And I hope to see you in the next video. Bye-bye.